What's up, y'all? Welcome to another review by Ryan, and a very happy Wednesday to all of you. It is Wednesday, March 29th, and I hope you all are doing well wherever you're at in the world at the time you find this reaction. So in this reaction video, I will be reacting to the season finale of the second season of Spectre, and the title of today's finale is A Lucky Day at the Unagi Restaurant. So first, I do want to apologize to you for the 3-day delay. I, of course, as you all know, have been deep in studies and getting certifications necessary for me to get a new job because of the fact I'm getting laid off from my current job. And also, personal note, I had a bit of an acne breakdown over the weekend, and I was relatively self-conscious of my face. So between those two reasons, I am just now getting the reaction out, and I appreciate your patience. So we are now at the finale of the second season. And so, of course, I immediately think back to where I was this time in the first season as we prepared to wrap up the Skill Lady arc. And I am favorable overall of the season. There are certain nuances and issues that I will discuss at the end of the video reaction today, and that I've discussed throughout the last 11 episodes that still are a concern to me even now with the overall decision making to choose to break this season down story to story to story instead of sticking to one consistent story. But I do believe that what has been proven is that this show can tell a good story when it wants to, even when it has no choice but to be wordy. Yes, there are some issues that still exist from the first season to this season, but many of those issues were addressed in a way that I think was relatively favorable. So, in the last episode, Sleeping Murder, we did wrap up the conclusion of the whole who murdered the wife arc, and we actually did find out that it was none other than Kyokou, the daughter of Goichi, that actually got to the mother before the Ayakashi that Goichi had made a deal with could kill her. So again, everyone had been scheming, but it was actually the daughter herself who had did the first blow first, and then in order to make it looked like Goichi's plan had worked, that's when the Ayakashi transformed, yelled in Sumi's name, and then everything else that played out for with that murder and the immediate aftermath of the murder, and everybody's alibis continued to be what they were. Of course, we did see that Koya finally confessed to being in on what Kyokou had did, and because of the fact that Kudo and Kodako basically were like, all right, we've done our job and we've broke this open, it's time for us to get the hell up out of here. He didn't want people leaving with that type of evidence, especially outsiders, and so as of such, he put a bullet between Kudo's head, and obviously Kudo did not die because the man is immortal, and they all learned a very humbling lesson that day. And with that, we did conclude the Goichi murder arc. So my overall opinions of the arc was I did like this arc a bit better than I liked the arc before, when we were going over the guy who placed a curse on the town. I think that this arc was a little closer to what I would feel was a well put together story that the Yuki-onna arc was. With that said, I still hold to the same verbiage that I've been saying since the Yuki-onna arc happened, that I still think by leaps and bounds the Yuki-onna arc was the strongest arc that we've gotten so far this season, and truly, in my opinion, was 9-10 out of 10 story writing there. So, but at this point, we now know that Rika was the one who sent Goichi to Kodako, and of course, he wouldn't have questioned this immoral person that he heard rumors about, because he's already been doing business with these otherworldly beings, and so it wouldn't surprise him that there's an immortal being, and then it wouldn't surprise him that people at Kodako and Kudo are not normal. So, overall, and I'm sorry, I'm always here and there with this show because there's so many words to unpack in this show. It's kind of hard when I'm just rawly trying to put it all together, but I do think that they did a good job of being able to keep us engaged throughout the season, and I'm very interested to see where we go now that they know that, at least in Rika's case, it looks like she may be getting ready to make her move soon. And at least in this case, we know that her biggest move was that she wants Kudo to see more and more how cold, calculating, and awful Kotoko actually is. And I don't think that's something that any of us deny. Kotoko is absolutely awful as a human being. Completely awful. She's awful to everyone that's not really him. And then even then, that's arguable because a lot of people would say, no, the way that she treats him and her entire demeanor, she is very awful. And I would agree. I personally would not associate with someone or date someone like Kotoko. But alas, here we are, and now hopefully we'll be able to get some more answers of where the story will go next and what Rika's presence will be in this story as we proceed to the finale and beyond. So, also, one more shout out that I want to give before we start the finale is to Rion. Again, she was a very smart girl. She really put things together in a really great way, and I really like that part where she said in the last episode, I absolutely do not want to see them ever again, especially Kotoko, because Kotoko is just vile, and she didn't like her from the second that she sat down in the damn room. So I really did like her. I thought that she was a great gem of the last arc, and I just wanted to give a shout out to her. So that's all I got for you now. Sorry for being all over the place. It's going to be a very busy day today with me doing this reaction and getting ready for the finale to Tomo-chan is a Girl. So, which I hope you will also join me for that one a little later on today. So that's all I got for you now. Give me a split second to pull the episode up on the screen, and when I come back, we'll get this season finale started. All right, y'all, I am back, and I have the episode pulled up, and I'm ready to get this final reaction started to the second season. Again, the title of today's season finale is A Lucky Day at the Unagi Restaurant. So let's go ahead and get this reaction started in 3, 2, 1. Oh. I love Unagi. Oh. Of course they'd be wondering what the hell she's doing in here. Like I told you guys too, this, no matter how I may feel about the fact that they chose to not give my girl Yukioni any more love after that arc ended, and the fact that they chose to do story by story by story narrations instead of just sticking to one plot, I am still very happy with the presentation. I think that they definitely did their best to correct the things that could be corrected, because there's nothing that can take away from the fact that this is a very wordy and very a show that you have to pay a lot of attention to. Again, it doesn't have an incredible amount of flashy fights or things that you would expect from many of the popular shows now, and that's part of why some people may not really like Spectre as much as others. But I think this season delivered. It just parts it could still work on for sure, but I do think it's delivered. So I'm just wondering now what they're going to do now, though, since, again, Rika has had little parts here and there throughout the season, but yeah, she's had little parts here and there throughout the season, but other than that, she hasn't had a overly large presence like she did in the first season, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Also, I'm sorry, it looked like there were differences in this opening sequence compared to the other opening sequences. So I was wondering. A sheltered rich girl. Please don't mess with her. Yep. Looks like a doll, is a doll, acts like one, and is just evil. Yeah, we talking about her. while she's here to do another investigation, so I guess it will be focused on him. Good for you. Even though I wonder if this is. Damn, y'all really focus on this girl, bro. Y'all just mind y'all business. See, don't nobody really be doing all this in a real restaurant in Japan because everybody just mind their damn business. Listen, anything involving her ain't a damn good omen. And I just like how the supernatural is just so accepted. It's like, yeah, she's probably not human. But again, they're spitting some truth here, but I think they're being a little bit too deep about why she's here. Or maybe they're presenting this to us so that it can be another example that Lika's trying to show us, the viewers, that her presence can mean a lot of different things, good and bad. I don't know. Or even maybe I'm thinking too deeply on why they're giving us this whole presentation about what she may mean in the deities and everything else. I think she's just trying to enjoy her damn meal, honestly. I mean, it is a revelation, and normally it's not a good one. Oh, shit. I just love the casualness of it all. That always exists in this show when it comes to describing big time murders. I feel like she's there because of him. And unless he's been fed information by her from one of the Ayakashis or other spirits. I like how my man is genuinely intrigued by this story that he's being told. You know, this conversation has just completely de-escalated, has completely escalated way from where we started just a few moments ago. See? See? I was just saying that I thought that they must have been associated in some way. Or they could just be making all this shit up and we might just be getting strung along for 20 minutes, in which I'm going to be very annoyed if that's the case. I have no idea where we're trying to go with this anymore. That has to be some crazy aura for you to think that just from looking at her, going into a whole murder plot. Like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck? What brought all of this on? Where are we trying to go with this? I mean, death tends to do that to people. I think I'm really just wondering about where we're trying to go with all of this. If this was just made to paint her as a being that brings about dread and misfortune and unveils the truth about her even need to take any action. Bruh. Don't look at her, don't associate with her, don't speak. What was y'all deal? What even happened in this first part of the episode? Oh shit. Yeah, let's not talk to nobody. Just keep walking. And who did the request come to? Okay, so that was a real thing. Damn, he nailed it on the head. He must be Kotoko's apprentice. Now, what's up with all these wives getting murdered? Like, good gracious, we just been murdered. So he just got cursed. Well, yes, because murder is very unnatural and is not something someone should do. So this is just all possessiveness. Because she's probably already talked to the damn spirits. Don't give her that much credit. She just talks to the damn spirits and things around. She most certainly did not do any of that. Sword of Wisdom. I mean, she is said goddess, but oh, so she's a spirit. There we go. There we go. I was waiting for it all to loop together now. Ah, damn. He would have never got away anyway. Just continue suffering. Oh, you think this is a damn joke? Damn. See, just don't murder, kids. Just don't murder. Damn. So you're just an awful person in general. My goodness. Or is this a lie from hers? Because again, I have to perceive anything that she says out of her mouth as being a lie. But recently it's been more truths than lies, so I'll see how the rest of this plays out. But it doesn't. Yeah. It's just retribution, revenge. Donkey. You can't do shit because I guarantee you that Kudo was somewhere nearby. Ah! This girl wants a baby, so I swear. Bruh! This girl just be horny. Because she gets no fucks about you getting ready to suffer from having this ghost on you the entire time. Yes. Yes, clearly you were. What a wild episode. Didn't feel like a finale whatsoever. It's just another story that they felt the need and needed to throw in at the end here. Many, many, myself included. I used to do that all the time back in school. From middle to high, high to college and beyond. Even right now, I work 3 jobs. My man's like, why do I work with? Really? The end? Yeah, that's it. Guys, I gotta tell you, I really, really feel like they just added on that story at the end just for the hell of it. When again, it really wasn't necessary at all. We could have just used this as a full epilogue, and above all, we could have looped Rika back in to set up our premise for the next season. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, it was interesting enough, but it just wasn't necessary at this stage. And so now I think I know what I'm gonna have to ride when we go into the rating. Like, my goodness. It was a fine episode. It just wasn't really a finale. It wasn't really a finale. Okay, so what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're just gonna go ahead and skip to, and I did this for one other show this season. I'm not even gonna talk about post thoughts because you guys, if you listen to the reaction, my post thoughts is we didn't really need that last episode at all, or we could have just had the final part of them talking, and then we could have had some level of a shape up involving Lika and involving where we go from this stage. But this season's true purpose was just to present story by story by story, just to give us little snippets here and there, which I think it was meant more than ever to just paint a picture of a very cold and calculating Kyokou, which we don't really need to do because we already know that that's the way she is from the first season. We didn't need a whole bunch of different little stories here and there to portray that, but that's what they wanted to do, particularly here at the end. And this last episode, I mean, it just was an element that I personally don't think was needed. It doesn't change my rating for better or worse of the show. Actually, might drop it a little bit, to be honest, but let's go ahead and jump straight into the rating. So it is time for my my final rating, and my final rating is on a 4-part system. Now, I did just recently change the weight of my rating, so I now weigh story. Story remains at 40% of the weight. Storyboarding has gone up. Storyboarding is now 30% of the weight, and then art and animation and music are 15% apiece. This means that the story elements all together will now have 70% of the weight. And then everything else will have 30%, and the story elements will always take precedence when it comes to me deciding on a half. So, the story. I loved the Yuki Onna arc, and I've preached this, guys, to you throughout the entirety of this 12-episode season. The Yuki Onna arc was a 10 out of 10 for me. It was perfectly laid out. It had a perfect beginning, middle, and end. You got just enough to be attached to the characters, but not enough that it went off into a wordy fiasco where we weren't able to stay focused on what was happening in the show anymore. I think it was perfectly laid out all the way up to him realizing that for Muto and Yuki Onna, them getting their love and acknowledging each other and realizing that he has somebody was only a small piece of the puzzle, that she wouldn't be able to solve all the pieces that were present there. And I just feel that that arc was the arc that I could have 100% rode behind for this second season. Unfortunately, as we realized by the end of, I think it was episode 4, we realized that this was going to be arc based, where instead of writing one arc like they did with the Steel Lady arc, they chose to have multiple ones. And I hate to say it, this might have been the series' undoing. All the other stories were fine. The story of the man that went against his town because they allowed visitors in. The one episode we got off with Rika when she was staying in the apartment, and then they were listening to the story of the suicides that happened there. The story of the Bakineko. All of these different things that happened here were great stories, but I just gotta say, I feel that they may have tried too much to show that they could do storytelling without writing one thing the entire time. And unfortunately, for some people that were watching the show, it had the exact same effect that the first season did. The first season, it rode a single arc for too long and people got uninterested and it was too wordy. This time around, there was just a bit too much going on. And that's really what it comes down to. And in this last episode, instead of us having a proper wrap-up finale, we basically got a whole nother story arc for no real reason. We didn't really need it. It didn't really contribute anything to anything. It was nice, but it didn't really contribute anything to anything. So, I do believe that despite the fact that the Yuki Onna arc was the best arc of this series, that only constituted 3 episodes of a 12-episode show. And so I have to rate the show based on all 12 episodes we had. Thankfully, because that arc got a 10 out of 10 from me, that is going to help the rating of this season. And this season will still get a little higher than the first season, but it won't be as high as I was expecting to give it. So with that said, the story element of this will get a 7.5 out of 10. With storyboarding was actually fine. I mean, they did... actually, no. Storyboarding is going to get a 7 because ultimately, if they had rode with how they chose to show things in the first half of the season, I would have been fine with that. But because we had so many different pieces being given to us here and there, I do feel that it brought it together nicely, you could say. But I just feel that I don't know. I just feel that they were trying to do too much in the end. They focused so much on trying to correct the issues of wordiness from the first season that they might have done a little too much, and that might have ended up having the same effect. So the storyboarding, actually, I'm going to give it a 7. I think that the arc with the inheritance and Sumi's killer, I think that was done nice. And of course, the Yuki Onna arc was done really nice. Everything else was really hit and miss with its overall presentation of how they showed it to us. And it was a lot of back and forth. So, so I think that the story is going to get a 7.5. And the storyboarding is going to get a 7. The art and animation was fine. It's consistent. It's nothing to write home about, but it was consistent. There wasn't a lot of really big issues with the art and animation, so I'm going to give the art and animation an 8. And then the music was exactly the same music from the first season. No real major changes in the music. The opening and ending songs were fine. Not my favorite songs of the season, but they were fine. So overall, the music gets an 8. So, story gets a 7.5, storyboarding gets a 7, art and animation gets an 8, and the music gets an 8 also. So, I walked into this episode planning to award an 8. I did. But I can't award it an 8. I think that the finale kind of missed a couple marks there. I think that they were focusing on, they introduced something that really we didn't need at this stage in the second season. And even though the whole story behind, him being possessive over his wife and killing his wife was fine and all, we've already had quite a bit of wives being killed off and just death in general throughout this season. And we didn't really need any more of that. It didn't really contribute anything new that was going to make me like the series anymore. And if anything, it annoyed me a little bit because of the fact that we were at the end of the season and it just wasn't needed. So, unfortunately, this does mean that I'm going to have to give my second half. And for Mal purposes, believe it or not, guys, I'm going to have to give the same overall rating as I did last season. So, that I did for the first season of Spectre. So, my official rating is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. However, for Mal purposes, it will be a 7. The strengths was that they proved in the Yuki Onna arc that when they want to, they can write a really dynamic and engaging story that will captivate the audience and suck us in wanting more. The negative was doing too much can have the same effects as doing too little. And unfortunately for this second season, I feel that in the end, we just were doing too much, trying to show way more than we needed because the story can hold itself down. They had a great thing with the Yuki Onna arc. I still had a lot of questions there. That easily could have been half a season. Honestly, even if they didn't want that to be the entire season, then we could have done the Yuki Onna arc, and then we could have done the Inheritance, Sumi's arc with Goichi. And those two stories by themselves could have ran the entire season, find a way to work in Lika in this, as we learned, because we did learn that Goichi actually had interacted with Lika, and she was the one who sent him to Kotoko and Kudo, and they could have worked her in a way that it just would have been better, and easily I could have been talking to you guys saying this was an 8 or 9 season, but it just, that wasn't the way it went. I'm not the writer. I don't know what was in the author's head when they decided that they wanted to portray this many stories in one season, but I have to rate it appropriately, and I do feel that we kind of lost the plot a little bit as we were getting towards the tail end of this season. So, and then especially with this last episode, it was just unnecessary. So, but that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Not going to talk your heads off too much more. Again, overall, I love this series. It's different, and I do like where they try to go with this. But each season has, well, both seasons have had their strengths and weaknesses, and unfortunately here, the weakness means that I can't really give the show much higher of a score than I gave the first season, but it is still a show that I look forward to, and if a third season is announced, again, I will watch the show and probably react to the show again and see where we go from there. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for the Spectre Season 2 reaction series. If you did like the video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And if you want to be one of the first to be notified when a new reaction becomes available, hit the bell icon. So later today, we do have the season finale of Tomo-chan is a Girl. And then tomorrow, we do have the season finale of Spy Classroom. With those two videos, that will conclude my winter reaction series. And I'll have a video out for you guys on Friday, which will be my final update about what the hell is going to actually go down with the spring season. So I'll share that with you guys at that time. I hope you guys look forward to the rest of my wrap-up reactions. And until the next video, catch you later.